Hello everybody, Dave here, back again with my next project. After the fiasco that ended my Galaxy Quest, I mean I can't say it's a fiasco, it's just the model itself turned out just the way I wanted it, just the lighting. But after that we have moved on, and my next project, as you can see, is I'm gonna do an RC truck, and 1/10 scale, and I've been gathering the pieces and parts for a little while now, and oh, excuse me. So yeah, so I got my frame, got the transmission, got the axles. These are Muse. Oh, let me turn this around. These are, I pronounce it Muse. Other people pronounce it Mius. I don't know, Muse sounds better. Anyway, so yeah, these are Muse, and they're both steer axles, as you can see. So you know what that means. That means this particular build is going to be four-wheel steering. I got the, let me see here, yeah, motor. Like I said, I got the transmission, got the shocks, axles. I got these cool ass freaking bumpers, front and rear. Got servos. I got, I got these cool diff covers, Muse diff covers. Yeah, I've got pretty much everything. I got a radio and everything. And now it's been a while since I've built any kind of RC stuff. And the RC stuff has come a long way. My last foray into, excuse me, RC stuff was I bought a Tamiya Clodbuster years ago. Years ago. In fact, let me get this here. In fact, I still have the Clodbuster wheels. And this is what's going to go on. This is one set of wheels that's going to go on here. But yeah, these came out of my Clodbuster. And they have 0 miles on them because almost as soon as I started, well, I got the Clodbuster built, which I don't currently have anymore. That's a shame. I think I still have the body. But, yeah. So yeah, it was a Clodbuster, and that's when the rock crawling scene was more or less in its infancy, I would guess. You didn't have too much like you do nowadays. I mean, you can buy axles and the brushless motors were just starting to come out, and they were crazy expensive. And this one's a 2-in-1. It's a brushless motor and speed control all in one, so you don't have to buy a separate speed control for this particular motor. So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like I said, back when I did my first rock crawler way back when, I started off with the Clodbuster, and I built the Clodbusters to the kit specifications, and then I started seeing things about rock crawling, and then it just morphed from there. Like I said, I do believe I still have the shell, the original Clodbuster shell, and but yeah, this is my next project, and I've been slowly putting these parts together, little by little, and everything here. I think I actually bought the axles off of the Muse website. Because I specifically wanted 2 front axles, and they actually have a kit that comes exactly with 2 steer axles, I should say, because like I said, this is going to be a 4-wheel steering. So yeah, I've got everything. I've got the slides. I've got the battery tray. I've got it's going to have 4-link suspension, obviously, because yeah, why not? It's not going to be a crawler. Okay, just get this clear. It's not going to be a crawler. But I went on Amazon and looked up 110 scale. This is the trying to think here. The axial, I think it is. Anyway, this is all 110 scale, axial, you know, compatible. Let's see if it says on here. SCX10. Okay, that's right. The SCX10 class of RC, and it's the, like I said, I bought everything is crawler parts, but it's not going to be a crawler. It's going to be kind of a, I don't know. It's just going to be kind of a just a plate thing. I'm not really going to do any crawling with it. I do have plans. I'm trying to see if I can find some snow tracks that'll work. I might have to get different axles for the snow tracks because these are portals. If you hadn't noticed, I don't know if the snow tracks work. It's kind of hard to find 110 scale. They're out there, but you got to buy extra parts kits to get them to work right. So I'm still working on that. But yeah, these axles are pretty stout. I mean, these particular ones are plastic. Yeah, they're pretty stout. Pretty much everybody who's got the, like I said, I call them Muse. Axles are pretty happy with them. They do have the portals, obviously, and they've got several different types of you know, 110 scale axles. But this is my plan. Like I said, I pretty much got everything. I still lack a few things because considering this is an actual transmission with an actual separate transfer case, which makes these things true four-wheel drive with just one motor. Now, my Clodbuster had a motor in the front axle and had a motor in the rear axle, and it was not four-wheel steering. So this is all new to me. Yeah, they didn't have this type of stuff out when I built my Clodbuster. So if you wanted four-wheel drive, you had to have a motor in the front and the rear, at least at the time. Like I said, the brushless motors were just starting to hit the market, and they were crazy expensive. So pretty much everybody was still using your regular, you know, brushed motors, you know, and you had a separate speed control. Well, this particular brushless, the Hobby Wing. Let's see. This is the Quick Run Fusion SE from Hobby Wing. And it was about $100. This motor was $100, but this is a 2-in-1. The speed control is part of the motor. And it's crazy because you have to program this motor. And there's a little programming thing. Hold on, let me see if I can find it real quick. If you've ever messed with these Hobby Wings and these brushless motors, you have to program them. Even if you have a Hobby Wing with a separate speed control, you have to have one of these program cards. All right, program card, and it does all the little different features in here. You know, brakes and forward and reverse and blah blah blah. So yeah, this is a new foray for me because I built, like I said, I built a pretty stout crawler back in the day, you know, using my Clodbuster, and and I haven't messed with it. It's been, well, this was we're talking about the mid-90s, I want to guess. Mid-late 90s is when I had that, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty, and you know, I ended up trading it to my uncle for a guitar amp, a very nice guitar amp, by the way, straight across trade. And so I didn't, you know, and I was pretty much, I couldn't do any more modifications to that particular crawler. I had upgraded and upgraded and upgraded the motor, upgraded the gearing, upgraded everything. And I had gone just as far as I possibly could go with that particular, excuse me, with that particular crawler. But, so, like I said, this is my game plan. Back to what I was talking about with the transfer case. And so this will be true four-wheel drive. You got the transmission, and there's a transfer case in here, and which means you have to have it. It comes with a short drive shaft. The one that goes from the transmission to the transfer case actually comes with it. But then you've got to have the drive shafts that go from the transfer case to the front and rear axle. Well, I have to, when I get this together and get it in the configuration I want, I have to measure, because apparently drive shafts come at different lengths. So you need to measure it out and buy the drive shafts accordingly. So I still have yet to get those, and a couple other things. I mean, I've got a control radio and everything's all ready to go, and we'll get to that later on. But this is mostly going to be starting the assembly of these things. And I did, because these come greased, but you always want to grease them. As well as the transmission transfer case. They do have grease that they put them in from the factory, but you still want to grease them. And I got some grease. I tried, this was the smallest thing of grease I could get. I looked at the tube, just the squeeze tube of this same thing, and it was twice the price as this big tub. So that's why I've got the big tub. So, hold on one second. Got to do something real quick. All right, and we're back. Sorry. I hope the volume is on my mic isn't too bad. But anywho, where was I at? I had to plug in my camera because the battery was getting low. So anyway, so yeah, this is the plan. I've got, yeah, it's gonna have lights. I'll show you the shell I'm going to use for it, and when we get less stuff that I have to put on it. But yeah, like I said, I got two servos, and these are all water resistant. Everything, my servos, everything are water resistant. The motor is water resistant. And I am going to get a receiver box, a sealed receiver box, to go, as far as that goes, because I have plans on getting a snowplow. I'm going to keep looking for the snow tracks. I'm going to try to get a set of snow tracks for this thing. I might have to, I'm not going to do anything, put them on these axles. These axles will come off if and when I get snow tracks. I'll switch these axles off and put the axles that have the snow tracks on, because I might have to do some modifying of the axles, and I don't want to get fairly expensive. Now, these weren't too terribly expensive, believe it or not. And being as these were two steer axles, they were more expensive than just a standard front and rear, axle set. But they were still only about $100. And like I said, I got them off of the Muse website. You can get them on Amazon. You can get Muse stuff on Amazon. But like I said, I was specifically looking for two steer axles, and they were the only brand I could find that actually had two steer axles as a set. So I didn't want to buy 4 axles to get 2 steer axles. Excuse me. So, yeah. So, stay tuned. And we will be getting started on this here before too much longer. I got a few other things to do, but yeah, like I said, I have to, before I can get the drive shafts, I have to get this all together and in the configuration that it's going to be in, so that I can figure out what length of axle, or excuse me, drive shafts I'm going to need. But yeah, I've got pretty much everything. Shock towers and you know, the whole 9 yards. There's not too much I need to get, just a few things. This is going to have lights on it because, I mean, y'all know me. I put lights on everything. It is going to have lights on it, not just these. It is going to have lights on it. And I'm going to set up the lighting system, because these bumpers also have lights that come with them, and they go in these holes, you know, these holes here in the front, right? If you buy some of these Chinese made cool looking bumpers, and they are very cool, I would recommend getting you a little mini tap and die set, because these holes are notoriously not tapped, or tapped messed up, because they tap the holes for all the gizmos and gadgets that you put on them. They tap them after they powder coat them. And in the case of this particular set, they had a couple of the holes so close. Let's see, big black anyway. So close. Come on now. That's what happens when you got the camera backwards. But anyway, where these mounts here go on the back side, there's a recessed area. Yeah, let's see, I can't get it quite. There's a recessed area where the screws come through, right here and right here. Well, the holes are drilled too close to the side of this here. Too close to the side. This recessed area is right there. And yeah, I should have went ahead and got the tap and die set before I got this, but other than that, it's still pretty cool. It's got mounts for a winch, which I do not have, and they've got actual worn winches. I mean, these are things that they just didn't have when I was RC crawling back in the day. They do actually have worn miniature 1/10 scale winches. You know, you got some that are still run by just, if they've got servos that double as winches, but these are actual winches. They are a separate thing. So it's, I don't know, man. It's just so much aftermarket stuff now for these things, and has an actual toe ball, This is crazy. This stuff, there was just, yeah, it was not there when I had my Clodbuster crawler. I mean, this aftermarket stuff, it has just blown up. But yeah, anyway, so what I was getting at, especially with the Chinese stuff, it's really nice stuff, but you might want to get you a little miniature tap and die set. Well, tap, actually. You don't really need to die, you know. And this particular one came with a, you know. But yeah, they're very tiny, very, very tiny. But you will need them if you want to buy, you know, some of this stuff off Amazon, because I didn't know if you guys know this or not, but 90% of the stuff that you buy on Amazon, 90% of it, it's Chinese. Pretty much everything here is made in China. pretty much. These are definitely made in China, but they seem to be pretty good quality. So I haven't really heard anybody talk too much shit about the Muse axles. Everybody seems to think they're pretty decent quality. But anyway, so that is about it for right now, and we will be back the next time you see me. We'll be back, and we're going to get started on putting this all together. But I kind of just wanted to show you my next project. And like I said, I've been gathering parts for this for quite a while, 6 months at least. I'm buying a little here, a couple there. You know, like I said, these were $100. Their motor was about $100. The frame wasn't too bad. I mean, most of the stuff isn't terribly expensive. It's really not. Even the transmission and transfer case weren't terribly expensive on Amazon. But there were a few things that were on the pricey side. So anyway, we will talk at you later. And I hope everybody's having a good day. Alrighty. Bye. Hello everybody, it's Dave again, back. As you can see, I've busted some of my stuff out of their plastic, and yeah, so this is where we're starting. Basic frame, got the transmission and transfer case out there, but we'll be doing that here in a bit. But yeah, so as you can see, I've got frame rails, front and rear bumpers, shock towers, cross member, rear cross member, skid plate, and motor transmission mount. So we're going to get started on this here. I've got a couple of screwdrivers here. I got the manual one, and I've got a powered one. Because there's a lot of screws involved. But got Loctite because all of these parts, despite how they might look, are all metal. So we're going to do a little Loctite. So hopefully that works out. Got my tray of screws over here. And so yeah, trying to see here. That whining noise you hear, that's my light here. I Frankensteined a off-road LED light, and that whine you hear is the cooling fan because they run pretty hot. But it gives out tons of light. I mean, tons of light. So, so yeah, you know, I'm high quality here. We are high quality here. Oh, there's the light. Just anyway, so we're gonna try to get this to work without too much hassle. But anyway, I think you can see okay. There should be more than enough light. Anyway, so just a little, the reason I'm doing this is, well, there's a couple of reasons, and we'll get into it as we go. And you're wondering, well, how did you know what all parts you needed? Well, there's a YouTube channel, and it's called Waffles RC. You definitely need to watch this guy. He's based out of California, and he's all into crawler stuff. And there's a video that he did where he actually did exactly what I'm doing here. Most of his, he's really into the crawlers. I mean, he's got a little crawler thing set up in his backyard. You'll see it. You go to his channels. It's Waffles RC on YouTube. And so anyway, and he did a couple where he tore down one of his builds that had, you know, aftermarket parts and just kind of showed you things. But this particular one, and the video is the his Mercedes rock crawler build, and you'll see it in there. And it's basically he built it with all aftermarket parts. 95%, 98% of his builds, he builds from scratch. He doesn't use aftermarket parts. The only thing he buys is transmissions and transfer cases, axles, things of that nature. You know, links, stuff like that. But all of his frames and everything, he fabricates. He welds and fabricates these frames. So you definitely need to check out his channel. And on this particular build video that he did, like I said, it's the Mercedes build video, and he's got all of the parts, and he's got a parts list on the channel, and it's pretty much it's all Amazon stuff. You might have to, you know, but it gives you a general idea of what you're going to need, and it's a pretty detailed parts list. So yeah, definitely check out Waffles RC. He's worth the look, because like I said, he's super into RC stuff, and he builds all of his RCs, like I said, about 98%, because he does have a few that are you know, aftermarket parts like this. He's got a couple that are ready to run, you know, but primarily he builds his own stuff. But anyway, so just letting you know that, and so that's where I got the idea. Now there's a reason why I did this, and like I said, I'll get into it a little bit later as we get farther on into the build. So I'm gonna start putting the frame together and hopefully get a rolling chassis type of thing here today, because there's a lot of steps. So anyway, it's your frame rail, and I found this out watching that video. There's steps to actually putting this stuff together. You have, depending on what you're going to do, you got your skid plate, and these are the mounts for the God, what does he call them? We used to just call them Nerf bars. He calls them something else. But anyway, but the same screws hold multiple things. So when you get up into the rest of the frame, so you got to do, you know, these things at separate times. So, and all right, so like I said, the screws will go through one thing and goes through another thing and goes through another thing, you know, and if you don't do it in the right order, then you end up having to take the frame apart, and that's no fun. So let's see here, let's get this all, because it's got notches and various other things. And all right, let's get in there, you little bastard. There we go. All right, whew. Get you started. Anyway, one thing I had to double check on, so I went back to that video. I've got that video up on my computer. That way I can, because I've never built one of these. I never built, like I said, all of the RC stuff that I did, even my Clodbuster, was all ready to run stuff. That Clodbuster was Tamiya, and so yeah. So I have to reference that particular video because he shows you step by step how all these things go together. And as you all probably know, anything you might want, this is metal parts you probably should use. This is what I got. and I think he even has that in his little parts list on that. Yeah, this is the blue thread locker, 242. So I put that one screw in to just kind of hold stuff in there, and that way I can come back and put some thread lock on the other one, and then I'll take that one off, put thread lock on it, put it together. Yeah, but like I said, I put that one in just to kind of hold it in place. And all right, so I'll take this back out, throw some thread lock on there, and I probably should use my battery one, right? Yeah. You're like, why did you even bar that out if you're not going to use the bastard? So anyway, all right, so I'll put a little thread lock on there. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you don't want to use the red thread locker, because that's the like the, oh, see, every fucking time. Excuse my language. Every dang time. Let's put this over here because I'm a sloppy person. And get some of this off there. Fucking 10 gallons of. All right. This is where I say my videos aren't made for children, even though children could watch them. But I do swear, and they're in there, and it's just a natural thing of mine. Sometimes I'll swear and don't even realize that I'm swearing, because I swear a lot. All right, so I clean up the mess there, and so yeah, so you got your skid plate. Now the skid plate does go on a certain way. If you see, it's got in the front here, it's got this double thing where you stick the link in there and the screw goes through it. On the back side, you just got the one side. All right, that goes toward the rear. You got the front, and rear. So the front is curved, rear is straight. See, front is curved, rear is straight. And the skid plate, which again, this is why I had to go back on to his original build video, because I wasn't sure which direction this went. Because again, I can't say it enough. I have never put one of these together. So yeah, the notch is there, you know, front, without rear. Okay, just FYI. And yeah, that's for something else. But anyway, all right. And then let's see what we got here. So we got the engine mount, and he goes through all of this too. So you don't really need to, you know, I'm not going to go into great detail, because he actually does go into great detail. But even he says, this part, engine mount, is curved, and it does have an opening in one end. See there? One end opening, other side not. And the opening, the opened end, goes toward the rear, and it fits right here. It's curved, it fits in there, that's where it's supposed to go. But you have to do this. The first thing you have to do, because you can't get to this screw because it sits inside the frame. All right, see, it sits inside the frame there. Come on, this is really hard to do. Inside the frame, and you can't get to that screw once you put this part in the frame. So you have to screw it together first. All right. So you have to screw it together first. First, I say. Let's see. That might be. Yeah, and everything, the chassis came with all of these screws here. The transmission transfer case came with all these screws here. And it doesn't really, they don't come with instructions. That's why I had to go to the video myself, his video, because like I said, he goes into very much detail in his video. So, which I'm not going to do, because if you go watch his video, he's, you know, I'm just doing my thing here. And so I'm going to keep working on this. And we will get back together here once I get to the basically just the frame, and then we'll come back. All right, so as you can see, I got the frame together. That was a bit of a chore, a lot more than you would think. Well, I had the front bumper on the rear and the rear on the front, and these chock towers were backwards, these rub rail mounts were backwards, the holes, some of the holes, and even he mentions that these holes aren't in the perfect spot on this frame. But we persevered, and I got everything together as far as that goes. And I'm sorry, these are front and rear bumper mounts, and that's what my other bumpers will go into. They will hopefully slide right into this, like so. And yeah, that's pretty wild, actually. Anywho, so yes, got the frame together. Everything is where it's supposed to be. So our next project is I got to take apart this transmission and transfer case, grease them up, and Loctite, grease and Loctite. I Loctited everything on the frame, even though I had to take screws in and out, you know, but yeah. So, I'm not gonna bore you with me doing this, so we're gonna basically grease and Loctite the transmission and the transfer case, and we're gonna mount it in there, and when we're all done with that, we'll be right back. So just be patient. All right, well, welcome back. As you can see, I've gotten some work done on this, and I've basically got a rolling chassis. Yeah, these are the big tires. These aren't going to be the tires I have on it all the time. I do have some tires ordered, but as you can see, it's basically, well, what I just said, a rolling chassis. And so got the engine or the motor and transmission, and nothing's hooked up, nothing's wired, nothing, or everything is just, I don't even have the drive shafts to the axles yet, and I don't have the you know, I don't have the servos hooked up, but you can see it's definitely going to be four-wheel steer. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out. But yeah, so like I said, I was in the process, and I just got to a point and just went to the next point, and at the next point, and here you go, rolling chassis. So, but I've still got a lot more to do. I got to do the wiring, and I've got to do this and that and the other, and I've got the body just about ready to go. I haven't quite gone to where I'm ready to show you all what body I'm putting on it. But anyway, yeah. So we will be back. All right. Welcome back. got a new thing going on right here. So, well, this is one of those things before the final reveal of how it's going to look in its more or less finished form. So, as you can see, I got some tires and some wheels, some actual beadlock wheels. These are functioning beadlock wheels. It just blows me away. And I got these, they're all off Amazon. I think the wheels were like $35 and the tires were, I forget how much they were. They weren't very much. But yeah, and they all come in fours. Now a lot of the other websites that you can get tires and wheels off of, they generally come in packs of 2. And these all came in packs of 4. And I got, let me pull this out real quick. I should have waited. So I got the tires, I got the wheels, and I got inserts. Now these are the green ones. I guess the different colored ones are different stiffnesses or softness or whatever. Considering this particular RC is pretty heavy for the most part, and I wanted something stiffer. Well, the tires come with this foam, which is not too bad. It's, it's adequate. If you don't really want to mess with this, the foam that comes in them is adequate. Personally, and it all just depends on your personal reason for whatever you're doing with your RC. Anyway, again, all of these parts that I bought are all meant for crawlers. The frame, the axles, blah blah blah, the whole 9 yards, all more or less, because the crawling thing is very, 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 very popular right now. So there you go. Anyway, so you pulled foam out, put these in there in place of the foam, and these actually went in, these little doodads, inserts, I guess you call it, I don't know. They go in pretty easy. You just kind of, and they're pretty flexible. I just do it like this, or the attempt to, and you just kind of get it in there, and and if you've never done this, now if you're already very knowledgeable and you watch my channel for whatever reason, but if this is your first time around, so you see, it didn't take me a couple seconds there to get them in there and so forth and so on. So, like I said, these beadlock rims are true beadlocks. So they come in 3 pieces. You got the locking ring, the most visible part of a beadlock. There's an insert. Now this actually goes inside this part here. Here, hold on, let me get this off real quick. Yeah, you might want to invest in one of these too. Oops. That way you can, fuck shit up like I do. Oh, excuse my language. Because there's a lot of screws. When you're doing beadlocks, there's a lot of screws. Come on, Shaky. So, you got 3 parts. Well, actually 4, but, So, anyway. Alright, so, let me get this out of the way here. So you got the locking ring that goes on the outside, the very visible, and everyone tells everybody, yeah, he's got beadlocks, neater. You've got the center insert. Now that goes inside behind the beads of the tire, inside, and it's grooved. That's where the tire locks in right there, and then the rim on the inside. This is the backside, and the rim locks the tire down, or the bead down. And then you've got, again, the backside. These also come with removable, for that locks onto the axle, that thing, this the thingy. I don't know. My brain farting on me today. Anyway, so, and then you've got 8 million screws that go around the outside. That's why I say you might want to invest in something. Now, this is one of those for like taking electronics apart, you know, like phones and whatnot. And again, Amazon. And it comes with all of this stuff. All of this stuff. Here, see? Tons of different things. Tons of different bits. Square bits and Torx bits and Allen bits, which most of this stuff is Allen bit. It comes with the manual screwdriver, because sometimes the thing won't fit. Pliers and tweezers, and this is a magnetizer demagnetizer thing for the bits, and just all kinds of tools. And it was like, I forget how much it was, like $20 or something. And yeah, so it's got lots of stuff. It's got, you know, like I said, this is designed for taking like cell phones apart, you know, repairing cell phones and shit. And it comes in handy with this rechargeable. It's got a USB on there, USB-C. Comes with a little cord. Cord's about this freaking long. So, yeah, just keep that in mind. Anywho, just the cord. It doesn't give you a wall wart. That's kind of the thing nowadays. They just give you the cord that you need. You have to supply the wall wart. Same with my Samsung phone that I got. I got a nice, you know, a nice cord with it, but no wall wart. So you have to buy them separately. Anyway, so that's what I'm saying. This one, you know, it even has a light. Where is it? There we go. But I'm not really working in the dark, obviously. But anyway, so yeah. So you have to be patient with this, because you gotta, once you get it together, you gotta work the bead down into this little, you know, especially on the top. So it's got to be worked down into this groove, the bead. So you got to be patient. You know, just do it a little at a time. What I'm going to do is, now that I've got everything set to where I want it, I'm just sticking the screws in, and then I'll go behind and tighten them all up. So yeah. So that's the project right now. Like I said, this is one of them things. Yeah, I do have the monster truck rims that they work pretty good. They're pretty big. And these are going to probably be the wheels that are going to be going on it, wheels and tires that are going to be on it most of the time. And they smell, the rubber is not that funky rubber that smells like skunk, you know, that they make dog toys out of. This smells like an actual tire. Like an actual, the exact same rubber they use in full-size tires, minus the steel belts. It has no steel belts in it, so the beads are a little more flexible than they are in reality. But yeah, smells like an actual full-size tire. So obviously they make them out of the same type of rubber. Anyway, so, and these are all 1.9. The rims are 1.9. Tires, all the stuff's all 1.9, which is, I believe, the standard for 1/10 scale. So yeah. So that's what I'm working on right now. I got a couple other things to do. I'm not quite ready for the final reveal. I got some little odds and ends and things, like building, you know, the tire and wheel setup. And yeah. So stay tuned, stand by, and we will be back. All right, we're back. So as you can see, I've got pretty much everything put together. So yeah, so it's pretty much done. I mean, I've just got little things to do, and these wheels are not its final configuration. But I just thought they looked cool on there. you know, so you can see got this cool ass bumper. Yeah, everything's on there. Got the motor trans, you know, as you can see, everything's on there. So I just wanted to kind of show you how my setup is for this particular vehicle. You haven't seen the body yet. I don't think I've showed it yet, but anyway. But yeah, these aren't the final configuration wheels. But I've got another project that I'm going to use those. These are my Clodbuster or Super Clodbuster, whatever it's called. But I just thought it would look cool on here, and I'm going to show you the vehicle with these wheels, which everybody's gonna be the same. They're gonna be like, you should use those wheels. I would, but they're big. They're big. And like I said, these aren't the wheels that I intended to put on this anyway. I just thought I'd stick them on there and see. So hang tight, and we will be right back. And there you go. So I don't know if people are old enough or young enough to remember the old Mattracks back when Radio Shack had you know, stores, like brick and mortar stores, and you could get all kinds of stuff at Radio Shack back in the day. And RC cars and stuff like that. And these Mattracks came out, and you know, they were what, late 90s, early 2000s stuff back in the day. And I had just, when I had gotten my Clodbuster and was slowly turning my Clodbuster into a rock crawler. And I had bought this for my daughter, my youngest daughter, because she kind of, at that time, she was young and she wanted to hang out with Dad and do stuff. So I got her this little Mattracks. Now, if anybody knows about these, you'll know that they also came, they didn't come with these tires, but they came with a smaller version of these type of tires. And they also came with these little rickety tracks, you know, tank tracks, you know, type things, and they were pretty cheesy, and they did not perform very well at all. So I thought I kept them, but I didn't, apparently, because they didn't make the move with me. But anyway, so yeah, these, I just thought it was cool to throw these on there. I have driven it around briefly in the house here just to see, and so, but yeah, I thought it was cool to put these on there, the old Mattracks. But yeah, this thing is essentially done. Like I said, these are not going to be the tires that are going to be on this permanently. These are just, I just had these, and I'm going to put them on another different project. Hopefully they'll work. They work pretty good on this, but yeah, so hang tight, and I am going to put the permanent tires on here, and you'll see how that's going to look, how it's going to look in its final configuration. So I shall return. Okay, there you go. These are the tires and wheels that are going to go on it. Yeah, they don't take up nearly as much space as those big tires. But they're pretty sporty, man. These things are pretty sporty. I got all of these, 90% of the stuff I got for this, I got on Amazon, okay? The motor and the axles I had to get off of, you know, but yeah, 90% of this, obviously I already had this part. These are the spacers that I have to put in those big wheels. These are 12 millimeter spacers, and I have to use these nuts. These nuts. Excuse me. Anyway, I have to use these because the posts, the actual posts, don't come out far enough. You know, so these are just really long threaded, and they are not the right size for these are your standard. Where am I at? There we are. These are your standard nut size, and these are a lot bigger. So yeah, this is what I have to put on to get those big tires to fit, and they just fit. They just barely fit. You see, I'm using one as a stand right now on my turntable. But yeah, so, but yeah, this is the completed, basically the completed thing. I've got everything done. I've got the radio all worked out. You know, it's easier to turn the on with these tires on than it is with the other ones. But yeah, let me turn some lights off here, and I'm going to try something real quick. Give me a second. Turn this one off here real quick. That's the bright one. So aside from the I got four-wheel steering, and I got it set up to where both of them run, both the wheels turn at the same time. Just turning this radio is just, there's so many things you can do with this radio. I had it hooked up to a switch so you could switch it separate, you know, like if it was a real monster truck and you could turn, but I set it up to where they'll both turn, so it turns pretty sharp. But I've got lights working, or at least I thought it did. It was working. There we go. You can't really see them, but I can turn the lights off, but there we go. Yeah, my camera skills ain't gotten much better, but here, let me turn this off. There we go. There we go. So I got the headlights, and I got the, she wanted, when I told her, I asked her, do you want off-road lights, or do you want these yellow strobes? And she's like, I want the yellow strobes. So I got headlights, the strobes, and tail lights. The headlights are on one switch on the controller, so the headlights are here, the thumb, and there's another button right here. I don't know if you can barely see it. And the strobes have different modes, and all off. And then the first mode is, I believe, everything. It just goes through all the different cycles. But yeah, she liked that. The lights actually came with the front and rear bumper. The front and rear bumper came as a set. And I've talked about the front and rear bumper earlier in the video, but yeah, so it's pretty much done. It's pretty much done. I wanted to run a separate battery for the lights, but it can be done. It's just I didn't do it right, and it didn't work the way I wanted to through the receiver, I mean, this particular receiver has 7 slots. That's why I've got the 4-wheel steering, and I've got lights, and I've got, you know, various other things. And I've still got a couple of slots left over. But yeah, this is this final configuration right here. The old Mattracks. So I hope you enjoy this video. It's been shot over a little bit of time, you know, because obviously it took me a while to get all these things done. I'm really digging the bumper, man. This bumper, I mean, it's, you know, like I said, if I've talked about the bumper earlier in the video, if you get these bumpers, get you a little tap set. They're like little micro mini taps, and chase the threads, because you have to put all these things together. You have to put all this stuff together. And you got the rear bumper has an actual tow hitch. It's an actual metal tow hitch. There was always supposed to be another set of lights go in here, but I didn't see the point in having off-road lights in your rear bumper. So I just have the parking lights basically back here. So yeah, that is it. That is this project. I got another project coming that I want to build I want to build another RC, and because I learned some things, because I hadn't built an RC since, like I said, since like the mid 2000s. When I built my rock crawler that I used the Clodbuster for, and the aftermarket parts for these are insane. The amount of things that you can get. So it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. I enjoyed building it, and like I said, I want to build another one. And I just have to gather the parts. Turn the lights off. But yeah, I really dig the strobes. I dig the strobes. Or I don't know what you call them, but we used to call them cherries. You know, police cars have the cherries. Anyway, like I said, I hope you enjoy the video. I know it's kind of, you know, if you've watched my videos, you know my camera skills and whatnot, but I do the best I can. And like I said, I've got a bunch of projects coming, but I kind of wanted to get away from the models for a little bit, that, you know, and try something. Like I said, if you're curious about things, go see on YouTube Waffles RC. Waffles RC, and that's where I got my inspiration for this. And I just, like I said, 95%, 99% of the stuff I bought on Amazon, including the lights and the tires and wheels. I bought on Amazon. These are Integy. This, you know, everything. Like I said, the axles I had to get right from Muse. The Muse axles. But the plates, the diff covers, and everything, got it all from Muse. And like I said, the motor I got because Amazon sold it, but at the time they were out of stock of the specific one I wanted. So yeah. But like I said, the radio, these here, Radio Link 7, the RC6GS is the radio, and this one comes with, they've got some that come, but I wanted as many slots as possible because, like I said, I was running front and rear steering, as well as you got to buy the little switches to run the lights. This actually plugs right into the receiver. But these lights here on the front that came with these lights here, you get a switch, and the switch plugs into the receiver, and then you plug your lights into that, and that's how you do that, because I wanted the lights to be able to be turned on with the radio. But yeah, I had fun building this. It's like I said, I learned a lot doing it, because like I said, I hadn't done anything since like the mid 2000s when I was doing RC rock crawling. And rock crawling back then was still fairly new, and you really couldn't buy too many, you couldn't build your own. You had to buy the RTR kits, and then modify them with the aftermarket parts that they had out. But now you got the ready to run kits that you can buy now that are rock crawling specific. They are built specifically, purposely built, where back in the day you had to do like I did. I had the Clodbuster that I had bought, and those things are crazy expensive now. They're like $300-400 now, and I know I didn't pay but maybe $199 or something at most for that Clodbuster back in 2000, 2005, 2008, I forget. But anyway, and you can still buy them, but they like $300-400 now just for the stock Clodbuster. It's a kit you build. Most of Tamiya's stuff you have to build. They come with the motors and everything, and you got to supply the radio and the battery and all that. With this here, I mean, I bought, aside from the shell, which I already had, but I bought everything. Everything is aftermarket on this. The frame, everything, the motor, transmission, all that. So anyway, like I said, I keep trying to end this video and keep rambling on. Again, you guys watch enough of my videos, you know that. But anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed the video, and I will talk at you later. Bye.